Hello, my good and wonderful people. You're welcome to the channel. More shocking shocker news revealed about President Buhari's chief of staff. When I say shocking shocker, I mean every bit of what I say. I'm going to be reading out the news story to you guys in a bit, but before then, I want to encourage you to please support the growth of this channel by subscribing to the channel and also turning on the notification bell so that every time I upload a video on this channel, you will get notified. Please note I have two stories and a video with regards to this news, and afterwards I'm going to be sharing my opinion with regards to it. So let me begin with the first one. What I have written in this long piece is just some of my personal experience and encounter with him. Everything I have written here is in my memories, lest I forget which he has seen and read. I know him quite well. I was the one who in 1981 brought him to the UN at his request as a member of the Nigerian delegation. He was then a senior lecturer at the ABU. In fact, the late Prof. Audu, who was then the foreign minister, actually advised me against inviting him to the UN. But he had strong academic credentials which impressed me. He had obtained his first degree in political science from the LSE and a doctorate from Columbia University in New York. We were looking for strong delegates to the UN General Assembly, and I considered him being the kind of delegate we were looking for. So I invited him as one of our delegates to the UN General Assembly. He was at the UN in New York with me. I gave him and his wife my city apartment, which I was not using, free for 3 months, plus a car. I liked him, and I was not seeking any favors from him. After 3 months, he returned home and sent me a note thanking me for giving him the first opportunity to visit the UN as a delegate and giving him his first experience at multilateral diplomacy. However, he sent President Shagari a secret and private note that while he was at the UN, he observed that I had not been attending the meeting of Islamic states at the UN. President Shagari sent the note to Prof. Audu, who forwarded it to me in New York. He didn't even ask me for any comments on Gambari's secret memo, as Prof. Audu fully understood that Nigeria had traditionally not been attending meetings of the Islamic states, as we were not then a member of the group. Gambari asked for a private meeting with President Shagari, which Prof. Audu advised against. I was shocked that someone I had helped so much turned round to betray me so blatantly. I did not tell him I knew about the secret letter he had written to the UN. When Shagari was overthrown by Buhari, Gambari became foreign minister. When career ambassadors were being suddenly retired, I was at first not on the list. But Gambari, now FM, and Rafin Dadi, the head of the NSO, who had worked under me in London and was now head of the NSO, worked together to secure my retirement. In fact, when I called him from the New York to confirm from him news about my retirement, he first denied it. Thereafter, he had no longer took my calls. In fact, I remained at my post in New York for another 3 months, during which the MFA tried to reverse the decision to retire me. I had done absolutely nothing wrong in my entire career in the diplomatic service and only got into trouble for helping a young academic who turned against me to fulfill his own personal ambition. Since then, he and I have only met twice in very difficult circumstances. First, at a dinner by a mutual friend in New York, several years after my retirement. He could barely look directly at me. He was clearly embarrassed. Then, when Buhari won the elections in 2015, I headed a team that was set up to prepare a paper for him on our foreign policy. Subsequently, Alhaji Joda asked him to join the team. Last year, he suddenly called me to ask if I would kindly represent him at a public lecture he had agreed to chair. I told him I could not and that he should look for someone younger. He immediately hung up on me. Now, he may be the kind of person Buhari is looking for to succeed Abba Kyari as Chief of Staff. They are very much alike, but Gambari is more subtle and even more dangerous and will substitute the national interest for his own personal interests. I have no doubt about that. What I have written in this long piece is just some of my personal experience and encounter with him. Everything I have written here is in my memoirs, lest I forget, which he has seen and read. It is nothing new, but I think it is important that the character of our top government officials should be reviewed and not covered up. We have, as a nation, paid dearly for supporting appointments to high offices that are often detrimental to our nation. Enough is enough, and this has to stop. So that's the end of the first story, and it was written by Ambassador Dapo Fafowora. Now hear these excerpts from Femi Fani-Kayode, which exactly confirms all that this man has said. They are really quite disturbing. He said, "Beware of the Gambaris and the descendants of Alimi. With the appointment of Gambari as the president's chief of staff, for the first time in our history, we have a Fulani president and a Fulani chief of staff, both serving a Fulani government with a Fulani agenda. This has never happened before, and very soon the results will be self-evident. To make matters worse, Gambari is himself a hardliner, and he was Buhari's foreign minister in 1984 when the latter was military head of state. He served a tyrant and a dictator before, and he's serving a tyrant and a dictator again. Unlike his predecessor in office, the late Abba Kyari, who was a Shua Arab, Gambari is a Fulani. His only interest throughout his distinguished career as a career diplomat was to do nothing but further and protect the interests and hegemonic agenda of the caliphate in Nigeria, and to justify and rationalize its greed, brutality, barbarity, and excesses before the civilized world in various international fora."
And the President of the Federal Republic for giving me this opportunity to serve him and, of course, the country.
So what will Nigerians expect from you as well?
Well, I have not started, so I'll find out. I don't report directly to the nation. I report to the president.
So what will he expect from you as president? What can you assure him?
I think you have to ask the president. I think he demands loyalty, competence, and support.
So what will be your guiding principles as chief of staff?
To serve the president to the best of my ability.
Nigeria is trying.
Not very, not clear. So
ya muna ta kamar na me za yan Najeriya za su me yan Najeriya za su
no, I think you ask the MC.
Did you hear that? He is here to serve the president and not to serve Nigeria. And this is why the character of our top government officials should be reviewed and not covered up. You know why? We need to know what we're going into before we go into it, so that we can prepare ourselves ahead. History exposes characters, hidden or not. This man is a core Fulani man, and the question is, why should we be running a Fulanized government? Buhari himself is a Fulani, chief of staff is a Fulani. Why should we be running a Fulanized government? Remember that this man has a history of working with dictators and tyrants. Take Abacha, for example. In fact, let me read out what Sowore said. Professor Ibrahim Gambari, who some people claim is an intelligent man, used his intelligence to defend the draconian policies of the Abacha regime while he was Nigeria's permanent representative at the United Nations. He was one of Abacha's equivalents of the Goebel, representing the infamous dictator with vigor and a propensity that could only be found in fascist Italy of old. It is more about his personal interest, his Islamic interest, the Sokoto Caliphate interest, the Fulani interest, than it is about the Nigerian as a nation interest, the multicultural Nigerian interest, the multi-religious Nigerian interest. This is so unfair. It is really so unfair. And now this brings me to the question. If he's only serving the president and not serving Nigeria, where would his salary be coming from? Would Buhari be paying him from his personal pocket? Or would the salary be coming from the same taxpayers' money and Nigeria's resources? Where would his salary be coming from? That statement of saying I'm only there to serve Buhari and not the nation, it is really very questionable. It is highly questionable. Anyway, I rest my case, guys. This is where I'm going to be ending, so the video is not too long. Please feel free to share your own thoughts and opinion about this in the comment section below. And like I earlier said, please do not forget to support the channel by subscribing to the channel and also turning on the notification bell. Like and share the video, and thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.